Hi, and welcome back to It's Giving Government, a Volusia County podcast. My name's Kelsee Russler.
And I'm Maggy DuRant.
And in this episode, we talk about all things beach safety and ocean rescue. But before we dig into our topic, we want to tell you a little bit about the news.
Yeah, kicking off with our beach renourishment projects, we have one going on in Ponce Inlet right now, and it began in early June in Daytona Beach shores, and it's currently working its way south. The contractor is utilizing 15 trucks and averaging 1,000 linear feet of dune construction per week. The project has placed now over 3,000 feet of sand, and once that's completed, they're going to be starting planting dune vegetation. So that should be happening here soon. If you want to learn more about this project or other sand projects that we are working on, visit volusia.org/sand projects.
We are also into hurricane season, so we want to encourage residents to make sure that your hurricane preparations are ready to go, your emergency kits, your evacuation zones, prepare your house, and check your generators. Make sure you're also signing up for our emergency notifications, downloading the Volusia County Emergency Management app, and check out our social media accounts as well as the Volusia County Emergency Management ones to stay up to date.
Speaking of hurricanes, one of the things that we've seen recently is flooding in our area, and it's something that's affected a lot of our residents. And something exciting actually happened at a Volusia County Council meeting. The Volusia County Council approved 5 new stormwater management and flood mitigation projects aimed at reducing flooding and improving stormwater infrastructure in multiple communities. You can learn more at volusia.org, but it's such a great opportunity for our residents.
That's not the only exciting thing County Council has been up to. The official transition of management of the Volusia County Business Incubator from the University of Central Florida is now under our Economic Development Division. So the incubator has been rebranded as the Volusia County Innovation Hub, and as this transition happens, you guys can learn more at volusiabusinessresources.com.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It's also summertime here in Volusia County, which also means summer travel. Don't forget about the Daytona Beach International Airport. They have awesome flights and lots of fun routes that you can take. And also, it's just an awesome place to visit and travel through. We have so many great facilities, and this is just one of them. So if you're planning on some quick travel this summer, make sure to check out the Daytona Beach International Airport.
Yeah, and as summer wraps up, make sure that you guys are going out and enjoying some of the things Volusia County has to offer, especially if you have little ones. The Marine Science Center just reopened in June. Make sure you go out and check them out. We also have DeBerry, Lyonia, and the Ocean Center has some fun events happening too.
Yeah, for sure. It's a great time over there, so make sure to go check it out.
Yeah, so like I said, in this episode, we are jumping into all things beach safety and ocean rescue.
Yeah, and we have a wonderful guest. We have Tammy Malphurs on, our beach safety director, and we learn all about lifeguards, ocean rescue, some things that we didn't know either, and it's gonna be such an awesome episode. So let's go check it out.
We hope you enjoy. It's giving government. Hi, Tammy. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We are very excited to hear all things beach safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so exciting. It's kind of interesting. We obviously know you because we work with you all the time, but can you give us a little bit of background about yourself? What is your title, your tenure at the county, kind of what you do?
Yeah, I've been with beach safety this is my 28th summer. So I started, I'm the director of beach safety, and I've been the director for almost a year. And I started as a seasonal lifeguard and sit in that big red tower.
So you said you've been with the county for, so many years. Yeah. Have you done anything else or just beach safety?
I did a lot of things before beach safety. I was 22 when I became full-time, but I did a lot of things before beach safety. I worked for the post office. I worked in pet stores, supermarkets, all kinds of things that I did before that. But at about age of 21, 22 is when I started working on the beach as a lifeguard.
That's so cool. That's so cool to start something and then know what you're going to do. Just like continue doing it, loving it so much.
Yeah, and it's funny because I really didn't know that's what I was going to do the rest of my life. But I did. I was a volunteer firefighter and I went to EMT school. And when I moved here from upstate New York, I realized that I loved being an EMT, and I saw a lifeguard truck that said lifeguard EMT, and it was an ocean rescue lifeguard. So I was very excited, and I knew that's what I wanted to do.
Wow. So awesome. You have a lot of background, obviously, being a lifeguard yourself.
Can you give us a little background about how our beaches are covered by lifeguards? Like, what does the daily look like for our lifeguards that we have now?
Yeah, we have about 55 full-time lifeguards that are EMTs, and we get to the beach every day. We get on the beach, we set up the traffic lanes, we open the gates, and we make sure the traffic lanes and everything's set for vehicles to drive down. We're patrolling, watching the water, responding to any medical emergencies or water calls. And then our seasonal lifeguards come in around 9:15 this time of year, and we all meet at the station. We do drill. We do a running drill, swimming drill. It's different every day. And then those tower guards pick up their equipment from the stations, and they go to their towers for the day.
Wow. Now you brought up seasonal lifeguards. How many lifeguards are there? Because there's so many of you guys. Every time I go out there, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of people here.
Well, yeah, we are seeing a lot more seasonal lifeguards out there on the towers this summer than we have in previous years. Actually, Memorial Day weekend this year, we had about double the amount of towers staffed than we did Memorial Day weekend of 2024.
Wow.
We really bumped up our recruiting efforts. The county bumped up our pay. We have those bonuses for those lifeguards that work a certain amount of holidays and weekends. And also we changed our scheduling strategy quite a bit. So that really helped us put more guards out there for, the summer.
So you mentioned staffed lifeguard towers. Are there any unstaffed lifeguard towers, or all of our towers staffed?
No, there are. We have a tower priority list, and we have towers out there on the beach that maybe some days during the week they won't get staffed, just depending on how many personnel we have working that day.
Oh, wow.
Okay, now I have a question because I've been so curious about this, and I've been meaning to ask you this. Kind of on the same track of like the lifeguard towers, we have lots of them across the beach, and some of them are staffed. Sometimes it's not dependent upon the priority. But I live in Ormond, and Ormond is such a different beach terrain than Daytona Beach. Is the way that you patrol the beach different dependent upon that?
It can be. Like you were saying, that we have a lot of soft sand issues. Typically, it's really bad right now. And typically, it's worse about August, but because we had that lack of rain and the lack of high tides, we have a lot of soft sand issues right now. We patrol it in the same way. All of our trucks are four-wheel drive. We have ATVs that can traverse through those areas pretty well. We do sometimes do different things. Like if we have a really high tide and we can't get trucks down where they need to be, we'll take the jet skis and our boat and put those out in the water, and we'll patrol that way and watch the water on the water.
Oh,
That's actually really cool.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a lot of fun. Yeah. So for the beach driving, you said soft sand, and this is very familiar because I've never driven on the beach, but I did over the last couple weekends. You'll be very proud of
look
me.
at you.
I personally did not drive because I would panic, but my fiance drove us on the beach. So I know they very specific. They were hardcore. They said you got to put in 4x4. You got to get on the beach. How do you handle beach driving as you guys patrol and with the lifeguards? How do you handle that?
Well, what's really good is we know how to drive in it. So as us lifeguards, but we try to educate the public by putting out those signs 4x4 only. Also, our Volusia Beaches app. That has real-time information. We strongly encourage everyone to download that beach app on their smartphone for that real-time information. And most importantly, you can find out where those staff lifeguard towers are, but also those beach access ramps. It will tell you if it's four-wheel drive only. And it's very important for the public to follow those, all those regulations and the signs, and really kind of heed those warnings, because a lot of those areas, if you do not have four-wheel drive, you will get stuck. And unfortunately, there's not too much we can do about it unless we get a little, storm system or some higher tides to kind of beat down that soft sand.
Wow, that's crazy. Beach driving is something that was so new to me. I grew up in South Florida, and we don't have beach driving there. And so when I came here, someone told me like, "Oh yeah, you can drive on the beach." I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
Yeah.
No, you can't.
I know it's different for everybody, but for me, it's like I grew up here, so it's normal. So when I go other places and you can't drive on the beach, it's kind of weird for me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a different. The beaches are so different depending upon where you live in Florida, but so are the rules, and the rules can change beach, depending upon where you're at.
Yeah.
Like here, we can drive on the beach. And here we also have dog beaches too, which is crazy. How do the rules change for the dog beaches versus our regular beaches?
Well, you know, people really need to educate themselves on where those dog beaches are. And that's on our website, volusia.org, beaches. You can find out all that information. And dogs aren't allowed in the areas that aren't regulated or aren't specific for dogs. So we do tell people, we educate them, and we tell them they have to take their dog off the beach. They're not even allowed in the vehicles. So it's really important for people to know where those dog beaches are. So, you know, everyone's happy because, you know, when we do have dogs in the non-dog area, we get a lot of complaints.
How do you patrol the dog beaches? I know there's a partnership with Animal Services. What does that look like?
It looks like any other part of the beach except for it has dogs on it. And so we just, you know, if somebody kind of steps outside of that dog area or they have a dog off the leash, we educate them and let them know the rules. So it's the same, but there's dogs.
yeah, I know. I know I go and enjoy the dog beach. We have a little puppy, and so we take him out there, and it's super fun. Something you brought up before that I've actually been curious about is you brought up the EMT lifeguards. Are all lifeguards trained to be EMTs?
All a full-time.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're a full-time, one of the qualifications, you have to be an EMT or get your EMT within a certain amount of time. And the seasonal lifeguards, there are some that are EMTs, but it's not a requirement for seasonal lifeguards.
Is there a lifeguard ranking system? I have to know. Like, do you guys have, hey, we're going to entry level, then your towers, there's different types of towers?
Well, we have the, you know, seasonal lifeguards, and there's levels depending on their hours of service.
Okay.
So there's steps, and they get more money depending on their hours of service. But after the seasonal lifeguard, you have your full-time ocean rescue lifeguard, and then you have your sergeants, captains, deputy chiefs, and then the director.
Oh wow! I didn't realize there were so many levels to that. That's so interesting. Now, depending upon what their level is, do they perform different tasks?
Yeah, like I would rather be on the beach doing lifeguarding stuff, but I'm obviously not. I'm always, you know, I'm in a lot of meetings. I do a lot of administrative work. I come here to DuRant and attend meetings and do other things. I'm kind of the liaison between, you know, county administration and my agency. In our deputy chiefs, there's a deputy chief of operations that is over all the operations, and then I have a deputy chief of administration that's over all the admin stuff like accreditation and junior lifeguard program, recruiting, retention, PR, and training.
So what are some of the age ranges of your lifeguards? Because I have seen all different kind of people when you go on the beach and they're sitting in the towers.
Yeah, we have, you have to be at least 16 to be a lifeguard, but there's no age limit. And we have had lifeguards over the last couple of years that are close to my age and older. You know, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but there's a lot of there's really no age limit. So we have people up in their 50s, you know, seasonal lifeguards that are, you know, trying out and passing the requirements and working.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, I know that training to become a lifeguard can be kind of intense. God knows I probably could not do it. But how do you mitigate the risk for lifeguards? And I'm assuming training is part of that process.
Yeah, we are, because we are accredited through the United States Life Saving Association, we have strict guidelines on requirements. And those requirements are to mitigate those risks, because you could find yourself in any kind of ocean rescue situation, in any kind of you know, storm or environment. Conditions change hourly sometimes. So we have those really strong USLA certified requirements that people have to they have to meet those requirements before they're hired, and us full-time people have to meet those requirements twice a year.
Oh, wow.
That's so interesting. Now, growing up in South Florida, a lot of my friends throughout high school did lifeguard. I tried. I was not fit enough by any means to do it. I was not a good enough swimmer. I can swim, but not that well. One of the things that they told me that I remember being so interesting, that one of the biggest risks for them wasn't necessarily the water. It was the people they were saving because of the panicking. Is that true?
It's absolutely true. One of the main things they teach you as a new lifeguard is to, you know, pay attention to people. Don't get too close to them if they're panicking in the water. You know, give them your buoy. Don't let them, you know, climb on you. Yeah, I would say the people are the biggest danger in the water a lot of the times. We've had people, drown when they're still attached to a boogie board because they panicked. So we do tell people when you're caught in a rip current, that's the first thing don't do is don't panic. It's not going to pull you underwater, just pulls you into deeper water.
So we'll talk about dangers you hear in a minute and storms and the rip currents, because that's, I know, something that we have a lot of questions about. But is there any case in which a lifeguard possibly wouldn't go in to perform a save, or, something that maybe their life would be in further danger if they would try to go?
No, nothing that, I mean, I've been on the beach 28 years and we've gone on water rescues during really bad lightning storms. I was working in New Smyrna when we had that, that year of a lot of many shark bites, and we would, fly over and see the shark count in the water before, we'd open the beaches up and stuff like that. But there's nothing that I could think of that would prohibit one of our lifeguards from going in the water on a water rescue.
Wow, that's crazy. I would be so scared. I would not do well. I admire the career so much. I think it's so cool to be able to do that and go out and save lives, but I would not do well. I would be panicking as I'm saving the person. It would not be like, there's a shark over here, and I need to go that way.
We need to get you out in the water.
No, we do not.
Don't worry, I'm coming.
I will be filming from the shore. But you brought up rip currents, and rip currents is something that I think a lot of people don't actually understand what it is. Can you explain the definition of a rip current?
Yeah, a rip current is basically a current that pulls you into deeper water. It's pretty much a hole in the sandbar, if you will. We have lots of sandbars along our coast, and when we have those, storms, like any kind of storm system, like a nor'easter or a tropical storm, that kind of puts holes in those sandbars, and that really is what causes a rip currents. And that water has to flow somewhere, and it's flowing. All that water's flowing through that hole in the sandbar. So we have a lot of rip currents all through Volusia County.
Yeah, is that something that the naked eye can identify, or really only the trained eye?
Well, sometimes you can, but I would say most of the time somebody coming from another area, either from another area of Florida or another part of the country, probably would not recognize a rip current. The ocean and everything looks the same to most people. So that's why it's so important to swim in front of those staff lifeguard towers, because they're specifically trained to find out, to know where those rip currents are, and they can let you know where they are. But yeah, most people that get on the beach, if you see waves crashing in a certain area, but you see in between, a certain area where there's not, that wave is not crashing, it's usually a rip current. But it's something you really have to point out to people, and they have to get used to seeing that.
So we already kind of identified not to panic when you're in a rip current, but what do you do if somebody got, sucked out into a rip current?
Most importantly, swim in front of that staff lifeguard tower. Always in front of that lifeguard tower. A lot of times they can see you caught in a rip current before you even realize you're in it. But if you're caught in a rip current, don't panic. Yell for help. Float. Don't try to fight and swim back through that rip current. Swim parallel to shore. And wait for help, and like I said, don't panic. You can float. You can always float if you get tired. Float, but don't try to swim back through that rip current, because that's really when people get exhausted and drown.
Yeah. Now, is drownings the second most common? I'm assuming rip currents is the most common thing that you guys see on the beach.
Yeah, I mean, 80% of all of our water rescues are rip current related.
Yeah, and then is drowning close to second, or is that connected to rip currents?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Do they is the rip current what causes the drowning?
Yes, 80% of our rip currents are. That's the cause of most of the people getting rescued out of the water is rip currents. 80% of that, but most of the drownings occur because of rip currents.
Oh wow,
that's crazy.
Is there any type of misconception? So I know for me, obviously being a mom, my number one focus at the beach is my kid. So I'm always concerned about other children. It's going to be the kids that get stuck in the rip currents. Is that true, or is it usually adults?
It's both.
Yeah.
A lot of, it's both. I think that you see both, but a lot of people are keeping their kids close to shore. A lot of people don't understand that, if you're out there waist deep water and all of a sudden a wave comes and knocks you off your feet, then all of a sudden you're in that rip current that you just weren't aware that it was there, and then that starts pulling you out. So it happens very quickly. But I have seen a lot of adults go in after their children, and they all get caught up in a rip current. So again, that's why it's so important to be in front of those lifeguards.
Yeah. Now, it's kind of on that same track for drownings, do you guys see a lot of adult drownings as well?
Yes. Yeah. Most of our drownings are adult. And then we have, I think, a lot of the adolescents, probably like males, teenage males also.
I think I'd like to expand a little bit on the drowning, because we keep talking about drowning. Are all of them, do they all end in fatality? Or when you consider a drowning, is that just anyone who takes on water? What does that
No,
look
a
like?
drowning is a fatality.
Okay.
But we have what we call an exhausted bather.
Okay.
So we, probably out of the 3,000 people we rescue each year, maybe a quarter of those are either transported or given some kind of treatment afterwards.
Wow, that's so interesting. Now, kind of going back to what I was saying before, my fear of sharks and getting in the water. What do you guys do about the sharks? Is it a serious concern? How much are you guys watching them?
Well, a lot of times, if we can see the shark, we'll call people out of the water. What I try to tell people, because, shark, when you say shark, it's very exciting to people. And so our biggest danger here is rip currents. So we've never had anyone die of a shark bite. It's, our fatalities are from rip currents, from drownings. So it is a concern, but I wouldn't let it worry too many people, because, here in Volusia County, we have a lot of mistaken identity. So it's a bite and release type deal. You're in the water, you're in their way, they're trying to feed, and they accidentally bite you. Once they realize what they've bitten into, they let go. And so it's a concern, but I wouldn't be too fearful of it. I think most people really need to concentrate on swim in front of the lifeguard and rip currents.
So I'm not afraid of sharks. That is
love
not
that
my
for you.
thing. But jellyfish do kind of freak me out. So are there any other wildlife that we should be aware of while we're swimming in the ocean?
Well, yeah, you have a bunch of things. Of course, you have the stingrays, and you have man-o-war and jellyfish, which to me, the man-o-war are probably the worst out of all of them, because, they can pack a pretty powerful sting, and it's very painful. And a lot of times we'll see those washing in when we have like an onshore wind, strong onshore wind for, maybe a week. They're pretty much at the mercy of the wind and the currents. So we know usually ahead of time when they're out there, because we're kind of like test dummies when we go out and do drill every morning. If we get stung, we know that we're going to fly the purple flag for the day.
Oh, wow. Now, you brought up flags. The flags are very interesting. I always have to read the sign because I can never remember what they all mean. But what do they mean?
Well, we have in Volusia County, we never fly the green flag because that's no risk, right? So we either fly the yellow flag for moderate moderate rip current conditions, or the red flag for hazardous rip current conditions. The purple flag is for stinging marine life. And every once in a while we may fly that double red flag. That means no swimming, but that's usually on rare occasions when we have like a natural disaster or a hurricane, and we know that there's debris in the water or something like that.
So I'm sure, like Maggie said, many people come here, they don't understand the flags, or the Beaches app would be a great place to learn about that. But is there anything you can do for the people that don't pay attention to it? Or do we just have to let them do them and try our best?
Again, on our beach app,
Yeah.
download our beach app on your smartphone. That has the flag conditions on it for the day as well. But if people really, if you don't pay attention to anything else, swim in front of a staff lifeguard tower. They can let you know what the conditions are for the day. They can let you know what the safe bathing limit is and how to be safe out there. It's so important. And the condition flags, and that could change daily too. Like we could start out with a yellow flag, and then halfway through the day we have to switch it to red. So that happens quite often as well. So it's really important to pay attention and be in front of that staff lifeguard tower.
Very important. Be in front of a
We
staff
should put a little
lifeguard tower.
clicker up to see how many times we
Yeah,
say
how
that.
many
during the
times we say
episode.
that throughout this podcast. Now, how does the weather affect your job? Because I know if it's raining, I'm not going to the beach, but
Right.
you guys have to be out there, right?
Oh yeah, we're out there, rain or shine. What we do typically this time of year for lightning, the most dangerous time for lightning is June, July, and August, and we do have those afternoon storms that roll through quite often. So pretty much on a daily basis, we have to clear the people off the beach and advise them to seek shelter in a building or vehicle. Quite often, we are very proactive about monitoring those storms, and when they're a certain distance away, or if we hear thunder, we start making announcements. We get people out of the water. Again, we try to get them in a vehicle or building. We tell them that being on the beach under those tents, those pop-up tents and umbrellas, are a not safe place to be during a lightning storm.
So that's light. Do you guys have any other storm protocols as you see, storms roll in?
No, basically we get everyone off the beach. Our lifeguards will get in their vehicles as well, and they'll be in their vehicles, monitoring the water and letting us know if there's people still in the water, and we'll come down with our patrol trucks and get people out of the water and stuff like that. But yeah, pretty much it's pretty easy. We constantly are looking at the radar, especially when we see, the storms forming to the west of us usually.
Wow. Now, what about hurricanes? You brought it up a little bit before, but what does y'all's hurricane response look like?
Well, we do a lot of things during hurricanes. We have people that stay on the beach and staff the beach. Minimal amount of people that stay on the beach and respond to any kind of emergency on the beach. But we also staff the Emergency Operations Center and the shelters. And we also stage for high water rescue. And we've been on those high water rescue vehicles that have been responding over the last couple of times we've had those hurricanes and the flooding.
I think that's something that surprised me the most is that you guys are also first responders during a hurricane. As the pictures were coming in, Maggie and I are on the other side of things. We're typing the press releases and we're sending the news out. And you guys are boots on the ground saving lives. So it is really cool to see that you guys are part of those emergency response teams.
Yeah, we always try to respond to any kind of emergency throughout the county, especially if it's water related. We get a lot of mutual aid requests to launch our ski and our boat in the river and areas where other agencies can't get to. Just recently, a couple weeks ago, we responded to a disabled boat in a lagoon in the river. Wow. And it was in an area where you can't get a lot of big boats in. So we assisted the sheriff's office with our jet ski, and were able to get the people to shore safely.
Oh, wow. Now, I know for us as public information officers, we can get called into a lot of different emergencies. If something happens in a different city or a different county, they might contact us and say, hey, we need some help. Can you guys send some people? Is there any scenarios in which beach safety would do that with a different county or a different city?
Yeah, as long as we're part of one of those, one of the teams that gets deployed. I know that we're revamping a lot of that right now with the EOC and EM, yeah, I personally, I was on the technical rescue team, and I was deployed to Mississippi for Hurricane Katrina.
Oh, wow.
And responded out there, and we did a lot of response out there, and yeah, so it's definitely a possibility. We're swift water and water rescue is our specialty, so yeah.
Wow. So how far does your jurisdiction go into the water?
Well, technically, we would respond to anything that we could see, and most of the time that's like a mile out. And even if it's even further than that, and they need us to respond with a ski or a boat, we will assist. The Coast Guard calls us quite often for things, because we can deploy and get there a lot faster than they can sometimes, depending on the location.
We were talking about that. We were wondering if you guys assisted the Coast Guard.
Yeah. They, when they have large boats and they respond to a lot of things, but if there's something closer, or even, near the jetties or the rocks, obviously, because of our skis, we're more mobile to be able to respond to something like that.
Wow, that's so interesting. Do you guys have a process for how you respond to emergency situations? Like when you pull someone out of the water, do you always call 911 or what does that look like?
Well, we don't call 911 because we are 911.
Well, that's true. I guess that's true.
I didn't think about that either.
Yeah. So we have radios just like, any emergency responder would have. And so we have a couple of stations. We're on Fire One for any medical or emergency response where we will need backup like fire or an ambulance. So we have that channel, and then we have our lifeguard channels that each district has their own lifeguard channel that we call out on. Like if I'm going on a water rescue, I call that out on, hey, I'm going on a water rescue to the south. I'll be in the water, and backup automatically starts responding. Our full-time units or the trucks or other people start automatically responding to that. So, and then our fire channel, we will get on that if we need even more of a response from fire or EMS as far as transport.
Wow. No, I didn't think about obviously that.
I know I didn't.
That
When we were
you guys are 911. If someone, obviously, you should always swim in front of a staffed lifeguard tower. But if someone is not in front of a staffed lifeguard tower and they witness someone getting pulled into a rip current and they call 911, can they actually get to you guys to come help?
Yeah, we'll get the 911 call on our fire channel.
I did not know that.
I didn't either. This was one of our they just have to call 911. I guess.
Yeah, it was like an assumption in my brain. Like, obviously they're picking up their phone, but no, they're not. No. You guys have walkie-talkies. I know that.
You're actually doing the job and going out and saving people. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, if we get a 911 call in any area of the beach, it comes over our fire channel, and we're, and they let us know where it is and the location and everything. And with that being said, the sheriff's office has a live 911 or 911 live. I always get that mixed up, but when they get the call, say you call 911, it goes right to them automatically. Wow. And while you're talking to the dispatcher. So a lot of times they have called us on our lifeguard channel and told us about the call before fire got it to us. Oh, wow. And so it's a really great system, and we're working on getting that as well for next year.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, clearly you're answering 911 calls, saving people on the beach, experiencing drownings, and you've been doing this for a very, very long time. Is there anything that has really stuck with you or any specific save that stuck with you in your career?
I think that there's been a couple times, when families will come here on vacation and they'll lose a loved one, and they have to leave. They have to leave here, leave their vacation, go back home without their loved one. I think that sticks with me the most, and that's happened, a few times over my career. And I think that sticks with me the most because I couldn't even imagine, having to live through that.
Yeah, and I imagine that takes such an emotional toll on you and all the people that were there. And do you guys get to know the outcome of the call? Because you guys are the first responders, and then if they get transported to a hospital, how does that work?
Yeah, we work really well with EMA, and so we can, because that really helps us in the first responders. It really helps us emotionally knowing what we did, did it help, or, what was the reason for this happening? Like if we have a drowning and it's not really a drowning, it was someone that actually broke their neck on the sandbar or something. There was obviously nothing we could do about that. And so we really try to find out the outcome, and they really are good at, giving us all that information so we can go back to our crews, and debrief them, and it's a good training also, and prepare them, for the next time something like that happens.
I know a majority of, when you see the lifeguards on the beach, they tend to be younger, right? You have to be very physically fit for this job, and this is a really emotional toll to handle, especially for somebody who's a little bit younger and maybe hasn't had as much life experience. How do we help them, coach them through that, and what support do we give them?
We, a lot of our personnel, including myself, are certified in CISM debriefing, that critical incident stress management, and we hold briefings quite regularly, especially after a traumatic call or a drowning. Or something similar. We hold those debriefings quite often, and we also started a mentoring program. So when you're a new recruit, you're coming in, you're 16, we assign you to a mentor so you can talk to that mentor. You can get information that you need. They can provide you with resources if you need them. So we pay really close attention to all of our personnel and their well-being.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, we kind of brought this up. You've been in the field for 28 years, you
Yes.
said, which is awesome. But how do you feel like the profession has changed over that 28 years?
I think that I think that we train the same. We train hard, and I don't think that it has changed too much, other than the more modern equipment and better equipment. I think that that's probably it. I think that it really hasn't changed too much over the years. I will say that when I first started, though, there was a lot more people that actually tried out and wanted to, be a lifeguard. I think that now there's a lot of a generational shift where people are doing more like electronic type jobs and IT stuff, and they're not as physical as they used to be. And I think that has shifted, quite a bit, but hopefully we'll get back to the lifeguarding stuff. People will really want to do that again. So.
Yeah. So I know we've mentioned more than a couple of times to swim near a staff lifeguard tower and to download the Beaches app. Is there anything else that residents and visitors can do to make sure they are staying safe on the beach? They're doing everything they can to protect themselves while they're out there.
Yeah, I would say, just pay attention to your surroundings. And, when you come to the beach and you have small children and you decide to take them to a driving portion of the beach, make sure you pay attention, hold their hand, whatever they're crossing that traffic lane. A lot of things you can do is set up all your belongings on the east side, the water side of the traffic lane. And that way you can have all your stuff there, your tents, your chairs, your coolers, your snacks, everything that you need for the day. That limits the children from wanting to travel back and forth across that traffic lane. And you can opt for many areas of our beach that are no driving, and that's on the beach app. And if you have small children at the beach, just be aware of that. When you're driving on the beach, be very cautious. Speed limit is strictly enforced. It is radar enforced at 10 miles an hour. Drive with your window down. That's so you can hear your surroundings and, pay attention to everything. And I know, when you get down on the beach, people have a tendency to just kind of look at the water and not pay attention to a lot of other things. So pay attention to your surroundings, and, have fun. We really want everyone to have fun and have a good time.
Yeah, definitely. I know I love the beach, but I also have a hate-love relationship with the beach because of the sand. But I have to know, do you still enjoy going to the beach in your free time? Or because you've now been there for 28 years, do you not?
No, I love the beach. I usually am on the beach or a beach on the weekends. I love the beach, and I go there quite often, especially on my days off. I either ride my bike or just go down there and hang out. So, yeah, I don't get sick of it. You would think I would, but I don't.
So somebody may have mentioned to us that you also hunt for alligators.
Yes.
Is that a hobby?
Yes. It is one of my hobbies. I do love alligator hunting. Yeah, it is a lot of fun.
What is the biggest alligator you've ever caught?
Well, I think the one I caught was like 7 foot, but there's a lot bigger ones out there. So that's my goal.
Sharks are scary. Alligators are much worse.
Tammy said, "Don't worry about sharks.
We've got alligators." Yeah, I think you showed me the alligator head in your office the one time, and you're like, "Yeah, I caught this," and I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" Please explain. But in closing, we always ask this question, and I love this question. Everybody's answered it so differently. How do you define success, and has that definition changed over time?
I define success as doing what you love, and enjoying your job, not going to work just to go to work and make a paycheck. It's success to me is having that work-life balance as well, especially being a mother and a grandmother now. It's so important. Family is important. Building relationships is more important than anything. So if you can build those relationships and love your job, that's success to me.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And Maya and I cannot wait to get out there with you for day in the life.
I'll be on the shore.
Maggie will be recording while Maya and I are put through all the strenuous activities that we just talked about.
Yeah, we'll get her in the sand and play with some sharks and
It's gonna
maybe
be
some alligators.
No sharks and alligators.
So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of It's Giving Government. It was so awesome to have Tammy Malphurs on. We learned so much about beach safety and lifeguards and everything we do here in Volusia County, but that's not the only thing we did with beach safety.
We are also having our Day in the Life episode on YouTube. So Maya and I will go out and spend a day in the shoes of our Volusia County lifeguards. Make sure you watch it.
It's gonna be awesome. It was fun to watch from my perspective. I can only imagine from you guys. So make sure to go check it out, and we'll see you for the next episode of It's Giving Government. Bye.
You ready?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's do it.